James thinks I'm too childish and actually forced me to throw away all my figurines and merchandise, then hurried off abroad to enjoy a romantic time with Rachel at the amusement park. I broke up with him as he wished, leaving without any reluctance. On the first day of moving, I found a life-sized cardboard cutout next to the trash bin in my new neighborhood. While packing, I felt overwhelmed. I murmured to the newly found cutout, as the only man in the house, "You need to take responsibility. How can you leave me to decorate the new home alone?" In the middle of the night, I was groggily awakened by someone tapping me, and in front of me was a completely refreshed house. The handsome cutout was wearing a pink floral apron, pulling an angry James out of a giant trash bin, and asked me, "Emma, how should we deal with this waste?" My 7-year love affair with James has come to an end. I organized my belongings. It turns out it only filled one woven bag. Yesterday, James threw away all my figurines and merchandise. He said I was too playful and childish. After dating for 7 years, I still don't understand maturity. Even when he proposed breaking up, he thought I was petty, too childish. "Emma, how long do you plan to make a scene? It's just a few lost toys. Is it really worth all this commotion?" James packed his bags, not even looking up, his tone dripping with disdain. "She's been childish for so many years. Isn't it time to mature and be independent? You're not a 3-year-old child. What's the point of clinging to those figurines? Do you expect them to turn into people to take care of you?" James stood at the door with his suitcase, coldly watching me break down. "Face reality, Emma. I dislike childish people the most." I watched him close the door, leaving without a trace of reluctance. There's a saying online, if your boyfriend doesn't like you in a red dress, then what you need to change isn't the dress, but that boyfriend who doesn't like red dresses. So, I also decided to leave decisively. On the first day in the new neighborhood, I found a life-sized cardboard cutout next to the trash can downstairs. The man on the cutout wasn't a popular character online. I tried searching for him on my phone for a long time, but I never found out who he was. Maybe it was an illusion, but the man's smile on the cutout seemed to deepen. The surface of the cutout was smooth and new, with no flaws at all, clearly cared for by someone. Thinking of my own experiences, I brought the cutout back to my new home and posted a lost and found notice online. Unfortunately, after a long time, no one replied. I put down my phone, decided to continue organizing the new home. The house is in complete chaos, with several boxes piled up haphazardly, all filled with the new furniture I bought. I spent 3 hours cleaning, struggling to assemble the shelving unit, so exhausted that I was about to collapse. As I passed by the cardboard cutout, I couldn't help but shake it, muttering to myself, "Even though I don't know who you are anyway, you're the only man in the house now. As the only man, you have to take responsibility. How can you let me decorate the new home alone?" After saying that, I couldn't help but laugh myself. Could it be that I really am like James said, imagining the cutout turned into a person to serve me? I shook my head, put down the cutout, and took 2 fever-reducing pills from the medicine cabinet, swallowing them directly. Under the dual effects of the medicine and fatigue, I quickly fell asleep on the coffee table. In a daze, I heard rustling sounds coming from the house, faintly hearing 2 men confronting each other. I frowned slightly, and that unfamiliar male voice instantly disappeared. Meanwhile, the surrounding noise also faded away. I tried hard to open my eyes, but felt a pair of dry, warm hands covering my ears. I couldn't help but turn my head and nuzzle. "Just sleep a little longer, with me here, sleep peacefully." The unfamiliar male voice was gentle, his fingers lightly pressed on my forehead, smoothing out my wrinkles. "When I wake up, the meal will be ready." When I was first with James, I often woke up startled in the middle of the night. He would always comfort me to sleep a little longer, and bring me a bowl of soft, sweet red bean soup he made himself when I woke up. I mumbled in a daze, "James, I want to drink red bean soup." The man next to me seemed taken aback, and after a long while, he quietly agreed with me. The tension in my nerves instantly relaxed, and I fell back into a deep sleep. When someone gently woke me up, I was still a bit groggy. The red bean soup was ready. Drink it while it's hot. The man helped me sit on the sofa, and even massaged my numb arms. I stared blankly at the man in front of me. His white hair looked particularly flamboyant and unruly, with a faint smile at the corner of his mouth, his dark red eyes casually scanning the kitchen. When he turned to me, his expression gradually softened. This was clearly the man from the sign. The pink floral apron really suited him. The house looked completely new. It's no longer as chaotic as it was during the day. Is everything being managed by that handsome guy? It seems he sensed my doubts, and he obediently knelt beside my legs, gently resting his chin in my palm. "I'm Ethan, the man you brought home." As the only man in the house, I do need to take on responsibilities. When the word "only" was mentioned, the noise from the kitchen seemed to get louder. Ethan affectionately rubbed against my palm, but his expression turned somewhat cold after standing up. He dragged out a giant trash can from the kitchen. I couldn't help but be curious, leaning down to take a look inside, and I found James tightly bound and stuffed in the trash can. His face was bruised and swollen. James? He had a rag stuffed in his mouth, and after mumbling for a while, he still couldn't utter a clear word. Ethan lowered his head and sincerely explained to me, "He came to find you. I'm afraid to disturb your rest, so I knocked him out and tied him up." "Emma, didn't you say you wanted to drink red bean soup?" So I woke him up again. Red bean soup is actually quite simple. I learned it after watching it once. I'll make it for you in the future. You don't need to call his name anymore. James, with his bruised face, looks a bit comical. Ethan smiled brightly when he saw I wasn't angry. Now he is no longer useful. "Emma, how should we deal with this waste?" James is curled up in the trash can. The cold gaze pierces my heart, making me feel a chill. 7 years of feelings can't just be let go. Even though I've made up my mind to leave him, his hateful gaze still makes my heart ache. I'll deal with it later, handle it later. I have something I want to discuss with him. After a moment of hesitation, I reached out and pulled the rag out of James's mouth. What if he's here to apologize? I don't need James to beg me to stay, but I still hope to hear him say he's sorry. James spat coldly. The first thing he said was a mockery. "Emma, you still love to stir up trouble. What act are you putting on this time? Deliberately posting a sick leave update on social media to lure me back, and then act with those unsavory men. Do you really think it makes you happy to anger me like this?" I had already blocked all of James's contacts, and only posted a photo of a thermometer on my alternate account's social media. The recent stress and fatigue have given me a fever, with my temperature reaching nearly 40 degrees. I didn't expect that James had sneakily added my alternate account. I didn't respond. James thought I was aware. His tone was filled with sarcasm. "Emma, Rachel is much more pitiful and lonely abroad. Do you know?" He continued to speak. "I'm only accompanying her for a few days. The rest of the time, you're tightly bound to me. Aren't you satisfied? If Rachel has a heart attack and no one is there to take care of her, do you think I can bear that responsibility?" James's accusations completely extinguished the last glimmer of hope in my heart. I rarely pinched the bridge of my nose. Ethan immediately reached out to massage my temples. "Let me correct myself, Mr. James, we have already broken up. Before you left, I had already severed ties with you. You decided to come back to me on your own. It was not me who begged you to return. You are right. I was indeed immature and naive to think that you would come back to apologize to me." Ethan gently wiped away the tears from the corners of my eyes. I raised my hand and lightly patted his side. My expression seemed weary. "Ethan, there's just too much garbage at home. Let's get rid of it." "At your command, Emma." Ethan casually turned his wrist, and without hesitation, knocked James out. The annoying sounds finally disappeared. Ethan went downstairs to take out the trash, and I stood by the window, watching him toss James into the garbage pile, and he even kicked him twice hard. He reflexively looked up. His dark red eyes gently met mine for a few seconds, then he smiled. I tightly grasped the curtain. After dating James for 7 years, I thought he had long since moved on from his first love. Rachel had always kept in touch with him. I understood that in my heart. James's phone has no password, and he generously let me check his chat records with Rachel. Every time, it was Rachel who initiated the messages, and he never replied. It was only later that I realized James didn't reply to messages, simply because he always rushed to Rachel's side first. Rachel sent him a message. It was just a code. After learning the truth, James and I had a huge fight. In the end, he still compromised and completely deleted Rachel's contact information. That day, James chose to leave me to be with Rachel, which happened to be our 7th anniversary. The fondant competition I participated in won the grand prize, and the award ceremony was held on the same day. The night before, I specially invited James to attend the ceremony, hoping he could come on stage with me as a guest to accept the award. James was casually playing on his phone, but eventually agreed to join me. At that time, I didn't notice the indifference in his tone. As a result, James did not come to my award ceremony. I stood alone at the bottom of the stage. The staff urged me several times. After patiently apologizing, I made the 12th call. but still no one answered. On the 13th call, James answered the phone. He didn't give me a chance to speak, just saying he was busy, and then he hung up the phone. When I called back, an electronic voice came through, reminding me that the other party had powered off. I had to go on stage alone. The host kindly delayed for me. We waited on stage for a long time, but James still didn't show up. All the surprises I prepared were ruined. The staff thought I was deliberately messing with them. The backstage was filled with complaints. The 7-year anniversary cake I made was knocked over by someone and fell to the ground, turning into a messy mixture. My phone kept ringing. I thought it was a message from James, but when I lit up the screen, I found out the sender was Rachel. She sent several messages. James, what do you think of this amusement park? Unfortunately, it's a couple's amusement park, and I can't go alone. Oh no, I sent it to the wrong person. I'm really sorry, Emma. I just wanted James to see the facilities at this amusement park. That's all I meant. Please don't be angry. In the end, Rachel sent a playful meme. I stared at that meme, feeling empty inside, not even feeling angry. Right now, all I want is to go home and get a good night's sleep. At this moment, James, who had gone off the grid after shutting down his phone, was packing at home and only gave me a cursory glance when I returned. He said he had to go abroad for work, so I should be alone for a few days. He's going abroad to find Rachel, and I understood that. I just nodded wearily, not asking more questions. When I opened the bedroom and saw the empty display case, I was completely stunned. All my beloved figurines, the blind box keychains I had cherished for a long time, and those award-winning fondant creations, were all gone. At that moment, all that remains in my ears are the sounds of ringing and my heartbeat. Everything around me has become blurry. James, you moved things in my bedroom, did you? I asked with a trembling voice. James glanced hurriedly at my bedroom and casually replied, I threw away all your stuff. It's too childish. I don't like it. You're about to turn 30. Do you still need to play with toys like a child? As for your fondant competition, isn't it just a casual thing? Winning doesn't require much skill. Don't let me participate in such award ceremonies again. It really sounds ridiculous. James kept rambling, as if expressing the dissatisfaction that had accumulated in my heart. The grievances in my heart surged up in an instant, and I couldn't help but rush over, wanting to throw away his suitcase, grabbing the fruit knife from the coffee table. James's expression changed instantly, seeing me holding the knife to my own neck. What right do you have to touch my things? What right do you have to throw them away? You didn't go abroad for work at all, but to accompany Rachel to the amusement park, right? Do you even remember that today is our 7th anniversary? How long have I prepared for this day, and how much effort have I put in? You clearly know all of this. You promised to attend my award ceremony. Why did you leave me alone again? Faced with my questioning, James appeared somewhat flustered. He stared intently at the fruit knife in my hand, slowly approaching. I quickly stepped back. We can talk this over, Emma. Put down the knife first. Talk it over? Do we still have a chance to talk it over? I cried uncontrollably. The moment you threw away my things, you should have known we would argue. But you still threw it away. You don't like those things. You think I'm childish. So why did you go to the amusement park with Rachel? James thinks he's mature and composed, but he never agrees to go to comic conventions with me, nor does he want to go to the amusement park with me. In his eyes, those places are for children, and I'm almost 30. I shouldn't be so childish anymore. This is different. Rachel is a romantic novelist. She goes to the amusement park to seek inspiration. Kissing at the top of the Ferris wheel, that's romantic, not childish. After hearing that, I didn't say anything. I just put down the fruit knife. James's attitude made me realize that he has never truly let go of Rachel. Perhaps he has loved me, but he still cannot resist the feelings from his youth. Then go pursue romance with her. James, let's break up. James looked at me, as if he were looking at a child, seemingly saying, stop fooling around. He said he had to catch a flight, and that we could talk about it when he returned. Afterward, James said a lot, but I only felt a ringing in my ears. My body swayed slightly, almost falling over. He instinctively took a step forward, but then forced himself to stop. Grow up a little. It's time to give up on fantasies and return to reality. I hate immature people the most. Then, he closed the door, and his footsteps gradually faded away. I threw away the fruit knife, crying so hard that I could hardly breathe, and I was determined to leave. I didn't tell anyone my new address, so I don't know how he found me. Perhaps he saw the lost item notice I posted online. I sat by the window in a daze, and Ethan returned upstairs after taking out the trash. Gently place your hands in front of my eyes after after washing them. Emma, don't feel sad for him, let's eat something first. The red bean soup on the coffee table is steaming, the familiar aroma instantly awakens my taste buds. I casually stir the red bean soup, leaning my whole body against Ethan. He has a somewhat seductive appearance, but at this moment, he obediently uses his handsome face as my pillow. Did James make this? Ethan nodded. I threw away the bowl and spoon, holding Ethan's face with both hands. You've learned, right? Make me another batch. I don't like what James makes. Ethan has been glaring at the red bean soup on the table, as if this bowl of dessert is James himself. He wishes he could tear it into pieces. After I threw away the bowl, the smile at the corners of his mouth deepened a bit. It's a pity Ethan made the red bean paste himself, but I didn't get to taste it. When people are sad, they always want to drown their sorrows in alcohol. When the red bean paste was ready, I drank half a bottle of vodka, getting drunk like an elongated cat, collapsed on the sofa. Once, I never drank at all, and even got teased by James. How can an adult not drink? But I just didn't like the taste of alcohol. Every time I accompanied him to social gatherings, I always drank juice. His colleagues saw this, and they all made excuses saying I was still young. Not being able to drink is normal. James felt that my inability to drink made him lose face. Now I can drink, but alcohol is still hard to swallow. Ethan helplessly picked me up. I stretched out my arms and hugged his neck, kissing him randomly a few times. Exhaling a breath of alcohol, I deliberately brushed my breath across Ethan's face. Emma, Ethan smiled dangerously, my functions are quite complete, there's everything. Hearing this, I reached out to touch. It's even bigger than James. The bedroom isn't organized yet, let's just stay here. Ethan's breathing suddenly grew heavier, and he roughly pushed me against the door. We immersed ourselves in this moment, but someone was banging on the door behind us. But we were too focused, and no one paid any attention. The bedroom really isn't tidied up, mainly because the furniture hasn't been delivered yet. There's not even a bed. Ethan quickly tidied up the sofa. I curled up in the blankets, and fell into a deep sleep, sleeping until dawn. If it weren't for that knocking sound waking me up, I could have slept until the sun was shining on my backside. Ethan was busy making porridge in the kitchen. The aroma wafted throughout the room, making my stomach growl. Through the frosted door, I could only vaguely see his silhouette. The knocking continued incessantly. I dragged my weary body to open the door. It must be the bed I ordered. The sofa is too small. I really don't want to squeeze on it tonight. Hello, the delivery has arrived, right? Just put it down. I don't want to say much. James looked haggard, with a scruffy beard. He held a steaming breakfast in his left hand and a bowl of stewed pears in his right. I coldly asked, Mr. James, is there something wrong? I'm sorry, James said in a low voice. I was taken aback. It turned out he hadn't left all night. James's eyes were red and swollen, filled with bloodshot veins. I know you want to make me angry, so you deliberately hang out with other men. As expected, I feel angry, but more than that, I feel heartbroken. He handed me breakfast. With a rough tone, you can't handle it. He said he heard I was screaming for a long time last night. My throat must be hurting now. Have some pears to soothe your throat. It was then that I realized I was really wild last night. Ethan's skills far surpassed James's. I've never experienced such joy. I couldn't help but scream out loud. James wanted to come in, but I hesitated and closed the door without a second thought, and only opened it a few minutes later. He was outside replying to messages on his phone, and I recognized the profile picture on the chat interface. It was Rachel. She was complaining to James, asking him why he left her alone at the amusement park and went back home. Rachel even sent a cute emoji. Tell James that she has booked a flight back home as well, arriving at 9 o'clock. James's hands paused while typing, instinctively turning off his phone. The breakfast he bought for me was at my feet, and the stewed pear soup was spilling on the floor, like a small river. I casually threw the 2 portions of breakfast into the trash can, and then handed the garbage bag to James. My relationship with my boyfriend is great. James, you should hurry and go be with Rachel. I like his roughness. There's no need for you to intervene. Isn't love about being considerate? Help me throw away the trash. The garbage bag is transparent, with last night's red bean paste squeezed at the edge. James's expression turned gloomy upon seeing it. He is like the red bean paste, in my eyes, just trash that needs to be thrown away. I closed the door, and only then did Ethan lower his guard. If James does anything dangerous, he will be by my side immediately. Let's have breakfast, Emma. Ethan brought over breakfast, and even pulled out my chair for me. I mumbled with a spoon in my mouth, "Don't call me master, it's too weird, just call me Emma." Ethan propped his chin on his hand, reached out to wipe the crumbs from the corner of my mouth. "Emma." His deep voice made my cheeks slightly flush. "Emma, Emma." He seemed to really like my name, but I couldn't help my heart racing. Before he spoke again, I kissed him directly. Ethan's lips instantly quieted, but other parts began to stir restlessly. I don't know how I ended up dating a life-sized cardboard cutout, nor can I figure out why things progressed so quickly between us. In any case, my relationship with Ethan has advanced rapidly. He doesn't want to be a pretty boy, and soon resolved his identity issue, and acted in a few TV dramas, resulting in each one being a huge success. Fortunately, he is a spirit of the standee, able to appear in front of me regardless of distance. During breaks from filming, Ethan always comes home to check on me, supervising me to eat. Whenever I focus on making fondant, I often forget to eat, and my stomach issues occasionally flare up. Since Ethan came along, my stomach problems have improved a lot. Tomorrow I'm going to a comic convention as a guest, and I was just on the phone with Ethan complaining about the fake hair. I didn't expect him to appear at my house the next moment. It's a pity his ability can't bring others along, otherwise I could save a lot on travel expenses. I'll accompany you to the comic convention tomorrow, since I just wrapped up filming, and the crew isn't far away. Ethan knelt in front of me with a playful grin, picked up a prop whip and asked, "Will you use this to whip me tomorrow?" I couldn't help but turn my face away. A few nights ago, we had too much fun. The whip, just painted, was placed on the bedside table. I casually picked it up and gave him a few swats. I didn't expect him to remember it so clearly. Ahem, let's see how it goes, big star. I pinched his face and playfully kissed him. If I hit you, I could trend on social media. What trending topic could I have while flirting with my girlfriend? Ethan's cheek was slightly deformed from my pinch. He muttered softly, "It's fine, no one will scold you, just relax." As we chatted, we unexpectedly ended up kissing. We tangled up until midnight, before Ethan reluctantly left. I gradually got used to this pace, being able to not feel sore in my back and legs so late at night. I can go to the comic convention in the morning. The comic convention was bustling with people. After completing the event schedule as a guest, I sat at the table to sign autographs. After signing for too long with my head down, my neck felt a bit stiff. When I lifted my head to stretch my neck, I noticed who was waiting for an autograph in front of me. James had his head down, his gaze calm. We quietly stared at each other for a moment, until Rachel, who was linked to his arm, exclaimed, "Oh, isn't that Emma? I didn't expect it to be you. You look so beautiful with makeup on, I almost didn't recognize you. I'm used to seeing you without makeup, and I didn't expect you to look like a fairy when made up." Rachel's words implied that my current beauty was all due to makeup, as if she was saying I was originally an ugly person. I wasn't angry. Instead, I borrowed a bottle of makeup remover from a nearby guest. "It's fine, I was born beautiful. Even without makeup, one can be beautiful and captivating. The makeup remover only takes off the eye makeup. The eye makeup is merely for the character's needs, and removing it doesn't affect my beauty." Rachel's smile momentarily faltered. She was holding my unedited photo that was pranked, and casually sent it to James. Rachel thought that was my true self. While chatting with James, she sighed about how hard it must be for him to have dated a girl with acne for 7 years. What a joke. Some people in this circle say I have poor taste in men, and others say I'm too aloof, but no one ever says I'm unattractive. James, didn't you say that comic conventions are too childish and that you would never come? I let out a cold laugh. Before I broke up with James, I begged him to accompany me to the comic convention. That makeup was complicated, and the accessories were heavy. I simply couldn't manage it all on my own. He refused me, saying he was too immature to accompany me and embarrass himself. This time I came to hang out with Rachel, because her idol is coming as a guest today. I raised an eyebrow and shrugged casually. "In that case, if you don't plan to sign autographs, please step aside, so as not to delay the people behind," I coldly urged the crowd. James remained silent for a long time, his brow furrowed at the moment, as if he was enduring something. "Emma, is this your attitude towards me?" I suddenly realized, indeed, the attitude was too overly nice. "Security!" I shouted loudly, "Take these two troublemakers away." 2 security guards immediately stepped forward, politely asking James and Rachel to leave. Rachel pushed the security guard away in dissatisfaction, angrily saying, "Do you know who I am? I am the famous novelist Rachel." It's already quite nice that I could visit your little comic convention, and you dare to ask me to leave? The two security guards exchanged glances. The venue staff took Rachel aside to negotiate, while James, who had been following her, did not move. After not seeing each other for a while, he looked noticeably haggard, with more fine lines at the corners of his eyes. Emma, I was suddenly startled by a scream at the entrance of the convention. Ethan had just finished filming, and his makeup was still on, radiating an inhuman beauty. He was no ordinary person, and playing such a cold, demonic character was like a fish in water. I sent him a message, telling him my exact location. Ethan strode over, but was stopped halfway by Rachel. Rachel's cheeks flushed, and she took out a cotton doll of Ethan from her backpack. Ethan, I'm finally seeing you today. Ethan was blocked from proceeding. He responded with a cold gaze. I'm sorry, I don't know you. Please step aside. Rachel didn't back down due to Ethan's indifference. Instead, she approached him more enthusiastically. Weren't you filming a fantasy drama recently? I'm the original author. I always wanted to meet you, but you were never around. Today, I finally ran into you. It turns out Rachel came to the comic convention today just to confront Ethan. I looked at James standing in front of me with a faint smile. He appeared calm, focusing intently on me. It seemed that whatever Rachel was doing had nothing to do with him. People around gathered together, whispering and discussing. Rachel? Is she the author who wrote a lot of popular hits? She's really beautiful. Ethan and her make a great pair. An actor and an author. I'm supporting them for now. Look, Ethan is stunned. He must have been attracted by Rachel's beauty. I understand the real reason Ethan was stunned. I just casually flicked the whip next to me, feeling secretly pleased. Ethan's Adam's apple moved slightly, probably recalling that night's scene. I watched with great interest as Rachel clung to him and secretly beckoned with my finger. This is our secret signal. Ethan didn't hesitate. He knelt down, with his hands behind his back. Rachel let out a small scream, and the onlookers also gasped in surprise. Ah, this is really thrilling. I can't believe I can enjoy such a scene for free. No wonder Ethan is willing to attend the comic convention. It's because his wife is here. Rachel's face turned as red as an apple, reaching out to help Ethan up. You should get up. Everyone is watching. I'm going to be embarrassed. The people around immediately began to whisper and discuss. That is to say, are they no longer shy about playing like this in private? I pushed through the crowd towards Ethan. Rachel shot me a wary glance. Emma, what are you going to do? Right now, Ethan doesn't have time to give you an autograph. Autograph? I sidestepped Rachel, using the whip handle to lift Ethan's chin, wondering if I need to line up for my boyfriend's autograph. Do I need to wait in line? Ethan flashed a bright smile, completely devoid of the previous coldness. He stepped forward a couple of paces, and said softly, Sorry I'm late. I had to shoot a couple of extra scenes, or I would have been here earlier. Now, can I kiss you? Ethan appeared quite humble. After getting my consent, he gently held my foot with both hands, and placed a soft kiss on it, and I swung the whip towards Ethan's chest. I accidentally popped a button off his shirt, exposing a large area of his chest, and the crowd erupted in even louder screams. Rachel was left standing aside, her face alternating between red and pale. Ethan was unfazed, and simply picked me up, not even casting a glance at Rachel. Everyone then realized they had completely misunderstood. Ethan carried me back to the booth. James stood beside my chair, his expression complicated. Please step aside. Your girlfriend is over there. There's no need to keep guarding my girlfriend. Ethan's tone carried a hint of danger. James seemed drained of all strength, his face pale, locked in a heavy gaze with me. I curled up in Ethan's embrace, my feet fidgeting restlessly. My high heels had fallen to the ground, and James instinctively reached out to catch one of them. He wanted to help me put it on, but I suddenly pulled my foot back. So, I simply threw away the other shoe. Ethan was sitting in my chair, while I was nestled in his arms. James silently put down the shoe, and left in a daze. The comic convention quickly approached its end, and all the guests had to go on stage for a group photo. Rachel somehow managed to communicate with the organizers, and ended up going on stage to thank us guests. When everyone bowed, she still stood up straight, and when everyone stood up again, she bent down and refused to rise. No one would indulge her stubbornness, as the other guests left the stage, and I, because of my long trailing skirt, was a bit slower in my movements, and ended up staying on stage with Rachel. This stage has witnessed too much today. Just a moment ago, a play was performed, and now it seemed a bit shaky. When the lights above started to sway, I felt a tightness in my heart. Rachel hurriedly walked towards the stage exit, originally behind me. To escape, she suddenly grabbed my skirt and pulled me back with force. Her running became the last straw that broke the stage. I swayed on the stage for a few moments, only to be pulled down to the ground by Rachel. Rachel jumped off the stage, tears in her eyes as she rushed into James's arms. "James, I'm so scared." James's expression turned extremely grim. He suddenly pushed Rachel away and rushed onto the stage, protecting me in front of him. The 4 pillars supporting the stage collapsed with a roar, and the heavy curtain was about to fall. Yet, I felt no fear. James nervously shielded me, trying to calm me down. "Don't be afraid." Of course, I wasn't afraid. Just at that critical moment, Ethan jumped onto the stage, easily lifting me up, protecting me, and then kicked James off the stage. The collapsing stage and curtain buried us both underneath. Ethan used his body to create a protective umbrella for me. He appeared relaxed, taking advantage of the distraction. He kissed me fiercely. "Since I didn't kiss you today, now is the perfect time with no one around." We quietly kissed in the ruins. The venue was in chaos, and James's anxious shouts could be faintly heard in the distance. Ethan lazily responded, "Stop shouting, useless man, my girlfriend is fine." Soon, the rescue team arrived, helping us out from the rubble. Ethan seemed unsatisfied, licking his lips. "We only had a few scrapes." To reassure the person in charge, I've decided to go to the hospital for a full checkup. Strangely enough, James also got on the ambulance with us. His palm was cut deeply by a broken iron pipe, and his fingers were also scraped and bleeding. I heard the person in charge say that, when I was buried underneath, James was constantly moving the things that were on top of me, resulting in his hands being scraped raw. As for that, I wasn't particularly moved. After all, I never look back. Ethan was lounging around, resting his head on my legs, playing with my dangling hair. "Did you enjoy yourself today?" I asked with a smile. Ethan has a strange habit. He likes to be punished by me in public, which satisfies him, as if my punishment is a reward for him. "Absolutely." Ethan grunted as he turned over, his hand restlessly moving to my waist. "Now everyone knows I'm yours. Our star won't be able to spread rumors with other actresses anymore." I casually played with his eyelashes, but he caught my fingers and held them in his palm. Ethan murmured softly, "Actually, I never liked those actresses, and I didn't want to spread rumors with them at all. I only like you." In the several film crews Ethan is in, the actresses hold an important status. He could have used this to stir up rumors for more publicity, but he rejected all of that. Even if there were rumors, he would clarify them immediately. His top status has always been in a relationship. Please do not disturb. But today it changed to a photo of us at the comic convention. He's earned enough money, and after this drama airs, I plan to retire from the industry and travel with you everywhere. How about that? Ethan doesn't want to rely on me, nor does he want to be a burden to me. That's why I went to act in films, to make money. Now the money he earns is enough for us to live our whole lives, so naturally, there's no need to stay in that ruthless circle. We jokingly went for our checkup, but the doctor didn't find any issues, yet still worried we might have potential risks. They insisted on admitting us to the hospital. James is right next to me. With Ethan around, he never got the chance to come see me. Just before being discharged, James hurriedly left. Rachel is in trouble. She has been reported. The reporter used a simple online name, called the ghostwriter. As the name suggests, this ghostwriter is responsible for helping Rachel write her novels. In short, the novels Rachel published were not written by her personally, but rather works she purchased. Rachel owed the ghostwriter a full year's salary, which ultimately drove the ghostwriter to despair, choosing to expose her. I took a novel out of my backpack. This is Rachel's first work. She claims it's an autobiography, but in reality, it's my coming-of-age story. She has appropriated my past, imposing it onto her own life. Not long after, Rachel's childhood friends also came forward to accuse her. Rachel's childhood was not as tragic as she depicted in the novel. Her parents are alive, and her family is happy. The real orphan is me. The one who truly suffered is me. Actually, Rachel and I have known each other for a long time. She is well aware of my past, and even stole my diary to enrich her so-called autobiography. James's favorite is Rachel's first novel. He always asks me, why can't I be as strong and mature as Rachel? When he says this, he is still flipping through that novel. I once told him, the protagonist in the book is me, not Rachel. But he doesn't believe it. He questioned me, didn't you grow up in happiness? Are you trying to deceive me? When I was dating James, I was afraid he would look down on my past, so I fabricated a happy story. I blocked my own path to explanation. James loves Rachel. He thinks the Rachel in the book is strong and mature, having gone through so much hardship yet remaining optimistic. He despises me, someone who only plays with fondant and collects figurines. I never had these things when I was a child, but after growing up and being able to earn money, I particularly enjoy buying them. This compensatory mentality seems childish in James's eyes. Now, James finally understands who the soul of the character in the book truly belongs to. I closed that book and tidied up the other things. After a week of observation in the hospital, the doctor finally agreed to discharge me. It's pouring rain outside. The rain curtain obscures the distant scenery, making it nearly impossible to see. Ethan went to a roadshow this morning, so I have to take a taxi home by myself. Not long after leaving the hall, I saw a figure in the rain curtain. James stood there in the heavy rain, looking very sad. Emma, his voice was hoarse, as if he hadn't had water in a long time. I was wrong. Why didn't you tell me earlier? I took a step back, avoiding the slanting raindrops. I had explained once before, but you flew into a rage, and even questioned whether I was lying to you. I didn't dare to tell the truth back then. James was crying too, looking quite miserable. The rain was too heavy today, just like the day I confessed to him. James didn't bring an umbrella. At that time, the inexperienced me accompanied him through the entire summer rain. Back then, I lied, claiming that I liked playing in the water. James's cold expression softened at that moment, and he smiled, saying, naive. And now, the memory of that summer rain is gradually fading. It's autumn now. The summer rain will not come again, and I won't make the same mistake again. Emma, didn't you always love playing in the water? James smiled and reached out his hand, his eyes filled with tears. I will play with you. I no longer think you're naive. I support whatever you like, and I will accompany you to do it. Can you come back? I took another step back. A curtain of rain stretched between us, as if it were an invisible boundary line. James, there are many people around me who accompany and support me. You are not wrong. I have returned to reality, and I have long seen through you. I no longer need to weave lies with love to share the rain with you. I no longer need you. James, this time I have an umbrella. When I sent the message, Ethan ran through the heavy rain, holding a black umbrella for me. I walked past James, hugging Ethan, unable to tell if he was crying or smiling. Since then, James has not come to find me again. After breaking up with Rachel, he flew abroad. Ethan chose to leave the entertainment industry just as his career was taking off, with all 5 dramas he starred in becoming immensely popular. After the comic convention, he not only didn't lose followers, but instead gained a new batch of fans, who eagerly awaited his updates on Weibo every day. Ethan's exit from the industry caused quite a stir, with many fans crying and begging him to stay, worried I might never see his handsome face again. But as Ethan accompanied me to more events, the fans gradually stopped crying. Leaving the industry isn't a big deal. Becoming a relationship blogger isn't bad either. After all, everyone can still see it. There's no need to cry anymore. Later, I stopped attending events and traveled the world with Ethan. In Morocco, we ran into James. He's now a somewhat famous writer, and every book is about his ex-girlfriend, which is me, related to me. But I've never read his books. It's all Ethan reading them to me out of jealousy. James has become a thing of the past. I found my own happiness. Why be tied down by the past? I hope we are no longer related, never to meet again.